Thank you very much, Marc. Today we are getting together in different time zones, and we made it. Thank you for your time today. Can you please introduce yourself and say to the audience what you're doing, and maybe a little bit why you're doing it, and how you got to the point where you are today?
Sure.
Just in very
My
broad
name's
strokes, because you're a well accomplished artist. Sorry. So yeah, now go ahead. I will stop talking.
no worries. My name's Marc Dwyer. I do a electronic post punk band called Kull, which I think is coming up to its 10-year anniversary now. And after touring quite excessively, especially in the European countries for the last 3 to 4 years. Unfortunately, my touring came to a halt last year, which meant I came home and had to move away from the city that I was living in and kind of start almost a new life, but still constantly recording and doing like Buzzcall, and then another project which I've been working on called DSMV, working on new albums for both projects. And then kind of picked up other like weird hobbies, like kind of to fulfill my, I guess, like everyone has that competitive edge. And with mine, I've now filled it with like stuff like going to the gym or fishing or like constant swimming in the ocean. Because I live in a small kind of fishing beach village now, which is very different to living in a big city, because there's only, I think, about 500 people in this town in comparison to Sydney, where there's millions. But yeah, it's a big lifestyle change, but I've adapted to being a small town folk, so it's kind of cool.
So yeah, you seem quite relaxed. I didn't tell you this beforehand, but my wife is actually from Melbourne, so I have
Oh,
a
no way.
connection with Canada. Canada, with Australia. Sorry, I also have a connection with Canada, but this is a different one. Yeah, so I've been twice to Australia, but only to the big places, and
To
as
big
we
cities.
yeah, to the big cities, of course, a little bit of an outback, and the kangaroos, and I saw the smallest penguins of the world are in Australia as well. The very small ones. And
Oh,
I,
no way. It must be like pygmy penguins or something. I didn't know we had the smallest ones here, though. That's
yeah,
like total news to me. That's crazy.
really, it's. I always get it wrong. I have not really. I always want to say Prince Edward Islands, but I think it's a different one. But something like with islands, and where
Yeah.
you have to go, and then you can see them, and they're coming out of the water, and it's really fun. It's very
Yeah,
cute.
it'd be south somewhere, I can imagine, because they like the colder climates. So everywhere down south has probably all these weird islands where they have stuff like seals and
Hmm.
penguins, and yeah, the whole country is full of crazy wildlife. And even just since moving here, my broad kind of spectrum in regards to realizing what is around me in regards to wildlife has been blown up.
I guess so. I guess so. I have to admit I haven't been in Sydney, but Melbourne is a big place as well.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I imagine the countryside is will be where will be with a little village and then nothing around it for quite a while, a little bit of
Yeah.
ocean. But by the way, don't you have this? These jellyfish or something where you have to be very careful swimming in the ocean. Is this
So
a
that's
issue for
that's
you?
that's a little bit further north of where I live. So where I am right now, I'm like about halfway up the eastern side of the coast,
Okay.
which is classified as the northern New South Wales. They're northern Queensland, so that's way further up north. So they're the
Okay.
box jellyfish, which I think you're talking about.
Hmm.
Which, yeah, if that were the case up there, they have quite a lot of things to kind of be wary of, like uh, crocodiles, box jellyfish, sharks, everything. Like I don't know how people go like from place to place without being so paranoid.
Yeah, that's the thing with Australia. I have only been there twice, like I said. It seems to me like everything no, not everything, but a lot of things in the flora and fauna wants to kill you there. So I'm here in Europe, I'm in Germany, so everything is quite. If I go to the forest, the worst kind of thing what can happen to me is maybe a wild boar that I step on it, but it's kind of impossible to get some dangerous animals in our region. There is nothing. The most dangerous animal you have here is humans, and and usually you can avoid them a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that's why I'm here. I love being in a place where there's less of those too. So it's been good.
Do you think this also? I mean, no, it's actually a stupid question, and I told you I don't want to do the interview stuff because I think this also will have an effect on you on your music making. In a crowded. No, I don't know if Sydney is crowded. Like I said, I haven't been there, but it's a big city, so your influences are different than now. And I'm seeing you on the couch there, and you seem quite relaxed, like So
no, it's made my head a lot more clear. Like being in a bigger major city, screams potential risk of distractions. But being in a place like this, I was a bit stuck for a while. Like I think a lot of artists during this period are having a lot of difficult being productive and working towards something that they don't know when they'll ever be able to present, or not sure when they'll be able to perform it live. So it's been kind of like almost like a unexplainable mental block for I know a lot of artists that I've spoken to, but since being here and then kind of like focusing on other things like my health and my fitness and stuff like that, it's kind of like almost rejuvenated myself and given me a level of energy and where I go do that and then I come back and I'm clear-headed and I can do stuff and I feel like my ideas are flowing a lot better since doing so.
Okay, so it kind of the opposite of a writer's block. It kind of helped you to kind of get mentally in a flow state again because you have no distractions or just beautiful nature distractions. I take it, when
Totally.
that's
It's
good for
like
you.
two steps back to move forward, if anything.
Okay.
So taking yourself away from everything and then also focusing on other things that aren't that to kind of like move forward again.
So, I mean, you're working on new music, right?
Yep, I am.
Um,
Yeah. So for two albums at the moment. So I feel like a little bit overwhelmed that is what I'm juggling. So I've never been in a situation of juggling two major releases. But as I said, like no one's in any rush to really release anything at the moment, or no one's putting any pressure on me either. So it's been a little bit more lenient.
so, and why would you do that? I mean, why working on two releases at the same time?
DSMV is the newest project that I do
Oh,
with
okay.
myself and a Melbourne artist, Morgan Wright. So we released a two track release last year. Actually, it's the only thing that I released last year was the DSMV release, and we did that through a Parisian label called Third Coming Records, and that did really well. And the response for that project got a lot of nice feedback. So we and we're both really excited about the project as well. So we both figured we've got all these tracks that we recorded. We may as well try and get into a full body of work. And then with the Buzzcull record, I kind of haven't released anything since New Kind of Cross. Oh, actually, well, I did Last in the Club. But this would be the album that Last in the Club would be a part of.
Okay.
So just to finish off what that track, that world that track came from.
I see. And this, because this was kind of my reasoning why I'm asking. I mean, why I'm asking when the new music is coming out, because I was just listening in preparation of our talk to Last in the Club. I really like this song.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's a really dark. I mean, it's simplistic, dark, but to the point. It's kind of. I don't know how to describe it. It has, somber. It's just fun. It's just flows there. It's a little bit dark, but it's not. How you say, I don't know, suicide dark. It's kind of like, relaxed, and now in your relaxed state, I would like to see where your music will go, because I think this still happened in Sydney, and where you are now, I'm pretty sure there are no clubs at the moment. I mean, at the moment with the pandemic situation, I guess there's nothing, but even without the pandemic, there would be not much, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's weird that the timing of that song came out when it did, which was like November. It came out November 2019, and so it was the last song that I released for Buzzcall. And yeah, literally no one will have any opportunity to be first or the last in the club for a bit. But yeah, I got lucky with that song. I felt like it got to the point where it was made and created very quickly, and I was happy with it to the point where it needed no more or no little. It was like perfect. So
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to mess around with it too much. It was the first time in a while where I've been like, oh wow, like this is set. All it needs to be is slightly tweaked, and there it is. But I feel like I got really lucky where sonically everything complemented each other to the point where I was kind of baffled in my own creation.
Yeah, no, and I can clearly see that, because it's I mean, it's stupid to dissect the music, because this is what musicians sometimes do. That we're like, oh yeah, here the I don't know, the snare, the hi hat could be a little bit like this and that, but the whole picture is just right, and it doesn't really matter why it's right, because I don't know, because the kick drum is exactly like this or that, it just fits. It has a flow, and it's just perfect as it is, and it doesn't need any dissection or explanation. And I also think it's just a. For me, I played in a few bands, and for me, it sounds like a song would come together, like if you just jam, and things happen, just the magic of things coming together, and there is more to it than the obvious parts. There is this meta, the magic, basically. I don't know. I really, I completely with you. The song is just cool as it is, and it flows. You don't get bored of it. You can listen it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend to listen on repeat too much. I mean, everything you can get bored of if you
Get up with it.
yeah. But it's kind of it doesn't annoy you, but it's also not so. How you say, so nothing, like mainstream or elevator music, that
Yeah.
it doesn't touch you. It kind of the right thing. It's not too easy to digest, but also not too hard to get into. I don't, kind of
I
the
I get
good
exactly where you're coming
middle
from, and
point.
thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, I mean, this was I think this was the song where I got to know you, and I have the nice privilege. I only talk with people I want to talk to, where I think they're interesting, and it was like, oh, that's a cool song. And then I put it in my playlist, and then I was like, let's see if he's up for a talk, and here we are now.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for your time. But what I meant to say is, this for me kind of is like the Sydney area thing, because there's clubs and now you say you wanna finish the album, and I think seeing you now here, you are in a different state now. How do you think this will relate to your album? Because even if I like Pascal quite a lot, I think your music will change because you change. You know what I mean? You're in a
My
different place,
environment.
a different input you get now, and that's absolutely fine. This is how you evolve as an artist, to kind of get new things into. Um, have you already seen that, or is it just, or can you get back to the
Uh,
mindset of Sydney?
yeah, well, I've got a catalog of things and ideas that have been in my head and even on my phone and my computer for like years. Like, I think Last in the Club was a track that, like, that title was something that I had in my head for years,
Hmm.
years and years. But I was trying to figure out the perfect song to put that context in. And then I think when I started making that track, I was like, this is perfect for this track. Same thing I did with New Kind of Cross. New Kind of Cross was a title that I had in my head for a very long time. Like I think I went through a phase of tweeting like a lot of these song titles or song ideas, and that was my go-to place. I'll just go back to my Twitter and be like, flick through, and that would be my archives for song titles and song ideas. But now I just put it in my phone like any other normal person now. So in my phone I just have all these ideas that also reference to stories or like thoughts or anything that I feel like I'll be able to write a song that makes a story or makes sense or I can be able to flow with. I just have a back catalog of stuff. But in saying that, as time goes by, I'm always documenting stuff. So even if I'm sitting in the car with my partner and we're listening to a podcast or listening to audiobooks, and I'm driving, I'll even ask her to like put these ideas into my phone for me. And she doesn't even ask about them. I think she knows, does it, and then like no questions asked.
So as we are just talking about this, can you maybe, if you want, I got now a little picture how you start a song. Can you just walk us through a process how you usually go about to make music? Because you're a solo artist, right? So so you do it all on your own, and I mean, like you said, Pascal, no, not Pascal. Last in the Club was very special one where just things fit, and you were waiting for the right vessel, basically, to take this this idea on. But how do you usually go about creating a song and most importantly finishing it? Because this, you know, I talked with a few artists, and solo artists sometimes have an issue to, you know, when to finish, when to change. I mean, no, when to send it to someone else to get a second set of ears or something, because you can always
signing it off.
Yeah, you can always tweak it a little bit. Like you said with Last in the Club, you were kind of, it just flowed out and it was done, and there was nothing else you could change. But this is, as I presume, not always the case. So how is your usual process of getting to the point where you say, this is done, this is a finished song?
It's like what you said before, how you said you used to play in bands and you'd all jam together, and that would be your songwriting process. But as a solo artist, you do similar things, but you'd start it from the very, very basics of creating the most simplified drum beat just to then make the bass line. You'd usually do it at the standard tempo of like 128, where it was controlled, not too fast, not too slow, but controlled, so you can hear the pattern and how you want your bass line to go, whether it be with an arpeggio or like played, like loosely played to the rhythm. And so once I would figure out a bass line that works, I won't always sign off on that bass line, because I may come back to it and then change it to an arpeggio or add a second bass line to give it more characteristics, because you can do one bass line that then plays off the other, and then they almost cross over. And if you listen to a lot of the songs I do, including Last in the Club, if you listen closely, there's two bass lines. There's one that may be distorted and held, and then there's usually an arpeggio. And they're the ones that like kind of make the song sound less like a minimal synth kind of track and give it more of like almost like a what people would classify in the 80s as an overproduced pops track. Okay. Because it doesn't have that minimal sensibilities about it, where you can just hear one synthesizer going at the one time controlling the bass line. And then from there, you kind of get a good idea of what direction the song's going to go to and what speed that you want it at. But to keep it in control, again, it's always fun to keep it at 128 and see if you can find the perfect synth tone, or even like an overly heavily affected synthesizer to go over the top of it to be your lead, or any stab, like kind of like synth stabs. And then it's just like building from there. But I agree with finishing tracks. It's one of the hardest things, because it can be as something as like small as figuring out the final chorus, or not the chorus, the final verse, to make the track whole. And if you cannot think of anything, it will destroy you if you think you're putting too much time into it, because you'll then try and force some lyrical content that
And
either
this
doesn't
doesn't
fit.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like like lyrics are a thing where once you put it in and hear it in there, it almost gets stuck in your head, because then you
I
try
know
and write other
exactly
ones
what you
over the
mean.
top of that.
It's really
Yeah,
it's very hard to unknow it and not to kind of put it there again. So yeah, I'm
totally.
very careful with lyrics. This is the last
Yeah,
thing to put in a song. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but if like some people are lucky, like if you can erase what you did before out and figure something out that great that it can completely abolish what you did prior, then you're on a winning streak. But yeah, finishing tracks hard. I think that's the part that I was struggling with more so this year than any other kind of like writing period, was finishing tracks. I've got a lot of tracks that I'm really happy with, where I feel like Buzzcall is taking the next step, and being within that new world where songs like Last in the Club exist and can be on a body of work together, and be as good as like my last two records, and or just even like be on the same pedestal as them, and feel complete. But yeah, it's just trying to finish
Yeah,
those like small little things.
you still have not really answer. I mean, if you don't wanna, that's fine. But
Oh,
how do you come to the conclusion that the song is, I understand it, but it's always a snapshot at the moment. This is how it is at the moment, and it can always be changed. It's just the thing frozen in time for this moment, but you still have to get to somewhere, because otherwise, you work on 100 songs at the same time and never finish anything. And so,
that's
how do
true.
you get to this point? I just want to, just for yeah, because this is the hardest thing, I imagine, for a solo artist, because you don't have other input from your bandmates and say, yeah, let's keep it. I cannot play it better, and let's get it out.
Yeah, no, it's true. Sorry, I did forget to fill that part in, but it's actually quite an important part. But what I do is, when I feel it is complete to the point where like there's no ideas going at the time, but I feel like there is space for ideas, I'll bounce it just as an MP3, and then I'll have it on like my phone, and if I'm going on runs or doing exercise, or just leaving the house, or making food, making dinner, as long as my mind is on something else and I can have that going on in the background,
Okay.
that's when it gets in your head, and then you hear these parts, which they it's not parts that annoy you, but it's parts where you're like, oh, that's something that could be looked into. You listen to it over and over again without overthinking it, and you're like, yes, make a note where it is, what your potential idea is, and then that's when you take it back into open the file and start reassessing what you can do. And I've done that for a while now. That's always been my go-to for finalizing stuff, because there's nothing more annoying than finishing a track, getting it out, putting it out, and then hearing that blank
The little
space,
thing
that
that
thing.
kind of annoys you then.
Oh my god, that's like the most soul destroying thing for me, is to hear that. And I remember when I first started doing buzzcall tracks, that's one thing that I didn't do, and then I learned from that. I was like, okay, I'm never doing this again, because I can't listen to the old stuff anymore, because it just destroys me, because I hear those things where I'm like, I should have done that there. But even then, now listening to it, my production skills were very, very basic. Still are now, but like I wasn't as like calculated as I am now. But yeah, now I'm a lot more on the ball. But that's my key point is like just bounce it, because like the other important thing is not having the if you work off a what most people do is now working off a computer screen with their tracking. It's also important to listen to the track without looking at that shit.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so being away from the screen is also an important part, because you're not focusing on those individual tracks and levels and stuff like that. You can go away and multitask.
Yeah, it's a funny point, because I just with a friend I have a little project where I sing, and
Yeah.
I'm so used to look at the computer screen now, because I don't even listen to the music, so because I see where I have to put it, I see where I have to start singing. It's kind of in the waveform you kind of where comes this part, and now I start. I mean, of course I listen to the music, but it's so. You're absolutely right. We, especially men, are very visible creatures. So if you see it, when you kind of your mind goes different if you see the waveform, and where's this part coming, da, 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 and then it's kind of anyway. I thought as you were talking, that's actually a really good advice. Because I always try to want to get to know how you work, and this is very educational for other people as well, to bounce it out and to listen somewhere else, and also doing something else. Because for me, it reminded me. I don't know if you have heard the story. I'm not really sure if it's true, but Einstein, the mathematician, was so good at what he did because he had a very boring job. He was a tax thing, calculator or whatever. So it was very boring for him to do that. But this kind of allowed him to do something very tedious and boring, and thinking about something else in the background, and kind of. In a way, you kind of have to distract yourself to get to the deeper stuff, and this is what you're doing with cooking or running. And for me, as stupid as it sounds, for me it sometimes happens in the shower. When I'm like in the shower, you're showering, and then my mind goes free, and I'm walking around, and I have no limitations. And then I have good ideas, So
that's totally valid. It eliminates the overanalyzing of things completely.
Exactly.
But I agree.
You need to get into a different environment, and also because the next thing I wanted to ask you is kind of the issue with solo artists is often that you're in your own bubble, and it's really tough to go on your own stuff with fresh ears, because you have heard it so often. When you work on a track, I take it, that you're like, and then when you kind of lose the objective perspective as it is normal.
Because you get no feedback, so you're unsure of your direction. I agree. I've always got a small handful of people that I will send my demos to be like, does this sound like Buzzcull, or is this like a different thing altogether? And it's always the thing that I'll always check to make sure I'm not going to left from center.
See, there's an interesting bit you just said. How important is it for you to kind of you have found your sound? Yeah, I mean, I was going through your catalog, and it's not every song is the same, of course, but you have a certain way of doing things and a certain sound. But as I get to know you now a little bit, you're also, you're a free artist, and this means, music is unlimited. It can go in this direction or that direction. And I saw you have some collaborations, Future Faces. I have seen you did a collaboration with, right?
Yeah, that was a recent one. Yeah.
But wait, I have a question.
Sure.
How do you have like the mindset, okay, no, this is not Buzzcull, and that's why I cannot do it, and then you put it to somewhere where else, and talk with friends, and you want to kind of this song, or you work on this with a different artists collaborate with it, or do you don't put yourself into, if you fence yourself in and say, okay, I can only do this, and you box yourself in, I think that's a better word, to not allow other things to happen.
There's only a few kind of things that I wouldn't because I'm not specifically tied down to an exact I guess you'd say genre, like a particular genre.
Yeah, you're quite
the free flow.
Darkwave, whatever you. I mean, it's kind of. I have a hard time to really put my finger on it. I mean, I like it, and I like also that I cannot put my finger on it, because as much as I hate to be categorized in a genre, because it's stupid. Otherwise, on the other hand, it's also important because I'm a radio DJ as well, and if I would get everything. There would be an avalanche. I could not deal with it, so I need to sort it, and put it in boxes and file it away. So it has its good and its bad. That's what I mean. It's a two-edged sword. Anyway, but sorry, back to you.
No, that's okay. I think that's what makes it easier is the fact that the more I slightly adjust the project, the less it makes less it makes that this project be put into a category or a genre. Therefore, makes the flexibility of what I do more open and more broad. So, if I want to deliver something in that kind of aggressive format, I can now feel freely to do so. If I want to make this more of a attitude but spoken delivery, I feel like I can also do that as well. But as long as I still have the same attitude in the delivery, no matter how it's done, as long as the attitude towards the lyrical content and the lyrical delivery works, I feel like that's the most important part, because if it feels lifeless or unreal, that's when you're going to come across as a fish out of water. And it will seem out of context. But if you can do it with confidence where everything complements it, I feel like it's fine. Like, as long as you don't sound like, everyone who does, like, you would know as well, like doing vocals in projects, having your vocals heard is quite an uncomfortable thing sometimes, and only you really know what it can sound like, or what you feel comfortable as sounding as it should sound, whether it be putting effects on it or having it at a certain level. But vocals is a very weird personal thing, and even giving them out to other projects, it's hard because it's their music and you need to relate to it. But I'll only really do it if I can relate to this song, where I can be like, I can be that person.
It's actually
Oh, sorry to watch you go.
No. It's just because you said this. I'm not going to ask you and whatever, but I'm now this year I'm becoming 45, and I always was very unsure with my voice, and so I always put on, I'm a little bit trained as an actor and stuff, so I have ways to do my voice differently and all these things, and
nice.
And I thanks, but I was always not singing with my own voice, I was always using, Rammstein approach, and, really rolling the, I was always putting in effects just with my voice, because I was so unsure with my own voice. And now, sorry, just a little, because we talk about you and not about me, but just a little thing. I was very lucky that I found now a guy I'm doing, a little project with. Yeah. And he really, Tobias, you have such a nice voice. Sing with your own voice. And the funny part is, I sing since I was 16, and for the first time, I really get to use my own voice and get it that it can sound good, just my own voice, you know. The point is, you're getting older and older, and you still find new things that you can kind of trust yourself and find people who want to hear you and not just. So sorry, I'm getting a little bit off, but I got off because you said as long as there is a piece of you in it, and then you can shape your sound, and this is what I realize now, that I kind of not faked, but kind of hidden myself in other projects and how I disguised my voice, you know, even without any effects. And so I'm just talking about the effects you can do with your own voice, and you know, anyway, all this stuff. Yeah, you know, now I'm at the same point as you are already, that I kind of understand, okay, it's my voice, and this can kind of keep the project together, because it's your voice and your intention, and if you feel the spark of yourself in it, then you can also diverge a little bit and go to a little bit different routes, you know, like you do. You kind of indie pop, you could say, and dark wavy and electronic body music. You know, it's hard to describe what you do, but, and this is where I completely agree with you, there is always you in it, you know, that you can find this. And so, okay, this is now going back to you, but this was just like, it just resonated so well with me, because I'm now, you know, after, I don't know, almost 30 years of doing music, getting to the point that it is me in the music, and not just some projection or some things I try to aspire to, or try or think that other people want me to be. And this is you seem to be at this point, you know who you are and where you are, and then you have a baseline, you have a ground level, and from where you can go in different directions, and that's the best thing what can happen to you.
Totally, I agree. Yeah, and it's never a bad thing experimenting with different voices as well, because it kind of almost like trains your voice in a sense where you can hold your vocal in different tones and different formats, and it's almost like a vocal training in its own way when you're putting on different tones and styles of vocals, for sure. But like it just depends on the song. Like if the song suits that format, if you want it to sound more aggressive, more spoken, more attitude, you kind of like eventually blend all the good things. You'll train yourself to know what all the good parts are, and then that almost becomes your thing, your version of yourself. Is the best part of all those ones you experimented with.
Yeah. Just for me, and now I'm stop about talking me. It was quite the opposite. I kind of had to strip down, strip out, or put away everything I put on my voice to find my own voice. And anyway, it's just a recent development. That's why I'm so like. It's so stupid, you know, that you don't use your own voice, because it's the best voice you have. It's you don't have to do anything. Anyway, sorry. Back to you. By the way, I told you I don't want to do any stupid interview questions, but I have one stupid interview question I want to do. And you might have heard it a couple of times already. Where does the name Kull originate from?
It was just made up. When I first did the project 10 years ago, the project was never meant to be a proper thing. Like, it was never meant to be like a project that I brought to life. And I put these songs online when I was going through a very tough period, because all of my software, my computer and stuff wasn't very reliable. So I was a bit worried that I was going to lose these things that were kind of like important to me, because it was representing a time and a period that I was going through. And so I put them online just on SoundCloud, just as
Mm-hmm.
a storage purpose. And I was like a band name, made it up,
Mm-hmm.
Buzzcall. And then like that week, the songs like came to surface, and a lot of people found them, and a lot of people really liked them. And I was not expecting anyone to even be able to gain access to them, because I never posted out links or anything like that. But what I didn't realize was like, I guess SoundCloud have this like sonic, almost like format of like sending these tracks out
Yeah,
that sounds similar to what it is.
we match it with you have like a self-fulfilling radio station kind of, you know, we match you the songs with kind of what you like,
Exactly.
and give you a you know, just try this one.
Yeah, yeah, and so it like blew up, like not like blew up like international, but like
Mhm.
I think especially in European countries, like it was heavily favored. And then I got the confidence to then just be like, okay, well, I'll make this a project. I can't really change the name now because people
Mhm.
think it's already Buzzcall. So yeah, that stuck. Like it was just a combination of two words that sounded right at the right time. And yeah.
I see, I see. So, you kind of dodged my question in the beginning a little bit, as I wanted to get to introduce yourself. So, where you're coming from, music-wise, and this is
Mhm.
kind of, you know, Pascal. We got it now. It's 10 years. I think now, you know, now we're 2021, so it's almost 11 years soon-ish, I guess. But
Yep.
what was your musical upbringing before that? You know, I mean, what were the instruments you learned, or did you play in bands? And because, you know, you, I don't think you started just with Pascal, right? There was something. There must be
Yeah,
something before
I
that.
was I was in another band before that as well, which was just kind of like a three piece, kind of like guitarish post punk rock band, and I just did vocals in that, and did some help with the production. So my production skills were quite minimal. Like I wasn't very switched on with that world. And then before that, I kind of grew up always wanting to play guitar, and no one in my family was really into the whole music as an interest or music as a hobby concept, other than like listening for
Hmm.
listening purposes only. My family was strictly, not strictly, but like straight down the line in regards to music was like listening only, not performing, not partaking,
Hmm.
listening. And then I kind of broke the seal with that, and started performing in this band prior. But yeah, it's kind of weird, like with my upbringing with that, because I think my brother is the only person that's ever seen me performed live, but no one else has.
But your parents are. We don't hate that. We just kind of never figured that you would kind of went off this route.
Yeah, I think they still don't quite understand what I do or what it is that I'm doing. Like I think it's very strange what that I just like get up and leave the country and go tour for like a few weeks and then come back, and they're like, so like we know this isn't your job, like you're just gonna like, when are you gonna finish music and then go do like just a normal job?
Hmm.
But at the same time, I come back and I have a normal job. I come back and work like in TV and film,
Hmm.
and that's like my second life, my part B of living is go on tour, come back, I'll work on a TV show or a film or something for like a month or two, and then go away again. And that
Hmm.
was on rotation. But
Hmm.
now my life is I am a student in this small town, so I study graphic design. So, which is another, I guess, another expansion of what I do in TV and film is I can take this course that I'm studying now to back to my old work and do graphic design. So I'm happy like being in this town and being a student again, It's
I mean, yeah, you seem quite, as I said before, quite relaxed and quite content with what you are, and also, but you're not standing still as well, because this is how I see life as well. You always um, evolve, you always get somewhere. I mean, it's good to be happy with the moment, but also not stay still, because life is changing all the time, and so you change with it, and it doesn't. It's not meant that it's worse or better or worse. It's kind of just the way it is. Things evolve and things go from one thing to another. So yeah, I try the same too. To not stand still and like this is how the world is. And yeah, I mean, at the moment we are at a special place anyway. But maybe can you, because this is now an interesting thing for me, and I have to admit I have not done too much research to know how you perform your music live, because it's your solo project, right? Do you
yeah.
get some musicians to play tracks, or do you have just backing tracks? And how is a live performance from Pascal?
I've tried to have other musicians and other performers join me in the past, but I found that it was always a bit too difficult because a lot of other people have projects going like at the same time. So relying on other people was always the hardest part about being in a project. Was if you're in a project with other people, there's a pretty good chance one or two of them were in other projects. So doing this on my own seemed like the most liable situation and outcome, where I could do it without having to condone or ask anyone if they're free or available to do these dates or do
Hmm.
whatever things that were proposed to me. So that was the square one. And then over time, I just tried to figure it out to see if I could simplify it to the point where I could do it with minimal gear and gear that was going to be reliable. So I feel like I got it pretty quickly. Like I was like, I want to play like a synthesizer always live. So I trained myself up to be able to play and sing at the same time. It took a bit of time, but over time, yeah, I got to that point. And then, so I have something that usually has my drum track and my bass track, which is just going to be playing each individual track. So I'll have my synthesizer through a bunch of pedals,
Hmm.
and in between tracks, I'll usually like turn the feedback off of my synthesizer in between tracks, so it seemed like a
Ah,
flawless kind of like connection
clever,
between
clever idea.
tracks. Yeah, so there was never a lull. I never stopped for a silence or an applause or
Mm.
anything like that. Like like if people want to applaud, I don't. I'll never object to it. But like I like a show where there's always constant noise going. So yeah, it got to the point where like even touring Europe, I learned as a solo artist, I was like, okay, I've got to step it up because there's so many great European acts that put on such a live, intense show. I was like feeling like I really had to step up to the bill and make my shows more energetic and
Hmm.
intense. So
Hmm.
over time, like I got to the point where like it became this more energetic show and performance where I would move as erratically as the music made it possible.
Okay. Okay. And how do you deal with this? When you have these backing tracks and you play live on it with a keyboard
Mhm.
and synthesizer, and you sing, and but what I discovered with a lot of solo artists is the problem with them is when that kind of you are stuck to the certain time. Like if the track is 3 minutes 50, the track is 3 minutes 50. And, if a crowd is going and cheering, if you have a band, you look around and, let's repeat this chorus and we can, play on, we can play
Mm.
to the crowd. And here you're a little bit stuck to the timeline you gave yourself in the song.
I feel
How do
like
you, how
that's
do you deal
more of
with
a
it?
concept with something like a guitar band where there's like an open opportunity for those kind of like,
Do some
crowd hyping jams.
improvisation stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, improv style. I never usually try and or never really had the idea of doing that because like I feel like my sets are a lot more intense than what they sound like recorded. So they're a lot more intense and aggressive than what they sound on record. And I didn't want to change it too much. So I feel like if I ever thought about going into that world of improvising on tracks, it may confuse me in the future in regards to performing them later on, where if I've memorized it and memorized to play and sing in these parts, it could confuse me in the future because I, like in my mind, that whole set is in my mind from start to finish. And I feel like if improv came into it, it may throw me off a bit. But in saying that, I've never really been like, I can see how people get into like the improvised jam band stuff, but I've never been too into it. I kind of like hearing songs that I've heard on record played back the exact way, but slightly sounding different. Like there's always a fun like kind of like twist of how it sounds different. And that's the one reason why I like to go see bands live, is to see how they sound live in comparison to what they sound on record, and to see if the parts that really get me sound the same as what they do on record.
I see. Okay, good. I got your point. And so, I mean, you already said before that once you bounce out a song and you listen to it and stuff. But I mean, this is maybe a little bit an indiscreet question or something. But you have no problems in getting bored of your own music then, because it seems like you kind of you put it in stone, kind of, and it's like the way it is, and you don't want to confuse yourself with improvisation. And I get it, and it's also, I guess, what the fans would like. Like you said, we go because we heard your music and we want to see it live. So this is absolutely fine. But how about you? I mean, you're not. I mean, you're coming from Australia, and there's also AC/DC, and I think like. I think these guys, after 50 years or so playing the same songs, I think you would kind of get bored a little bit. I mean, you're not around for 50 years yet, but do you have any problems?
Definitely gets bored of their music to a certain like degree. Like playing the same songs like day in, day out, especially on a big tour, can get old very fast. But if you have a catalog as big as AC/DC, at least you can mix it up differently every night you play or perform. But that's the reason why having pedals is fun, because pedals will then allow you to do things that you thought about doing or you've done in soundcheck and it sounded good, and you're like, I'm going to do that in the show. And it could be just something as much as like a sweep to turn up a big feedback sound to make it feedback just before another re-entry point into a verse, just weird experimental stuff like that. So I like every set I'll always try and experiment with different things, and then try and perfectly have it fade from the track into that feedback in between tracks, and then have that feedback then come into the next the opening synth for the next part. There's all those things that I myself, I know I haven't perfected perfectly, but I've come close a few times where I'm like, oh, I've heard it back like in a recording, or even just someone taking a video, an iPhone video and tagging me in it. I'm like, oh, that actually sounds like I kind of came close to nailing that transition that night. And stuff like that you find your own fun in your set. If you want to keep it mechanical and safe, then sure, like I have no objection to anyone doing that if that's what they feel like is the right thing to do. But yeah, you're right, you wouldn't be having any fun. You'd get bored of it really quickly. But if you've got something there to entertain you and to keep you on your toes,
exactly, on the like edge, but also that it's kind of not like just going through the motions basically. But I think I got you now, because it's kind of in a way you have because you have a set when you kind of how you say your oh, sorry, I just missed the word in my head. You're confident. You're confident in performing. It gives you the leeway and the leverage to kind of try things and play around, like you said, with your feedback loops and whatever, and move into the next song and stuff. So in a way, you have both worlds. You have the set world where you know exactly what's going on and how to perform and sing and play the song, but you also give yourself a little bit of freedom to to kind of let's see if I can do it better and yet and maybe just a few seconds more, and then then the other song comes in and it will be a perfect transition and stuff. So I think I got it. Yeah, and this makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, it's like the little things, like even if it's like little small things, like where if you're not playing a part and you're just singing, like you may even like turn on a delay and like maybe put a bit of noise in your synthesizer to make it sound like a drum hit. And like if there's a part where it has a snare hit, you just hit the synthesizer to make it sound like a snare hit, like and then that goes through the delay, and it just small stuff like that. Like it's not going to be anything like super noticeable, but they're just little things that like challenge you and even give you more ideas for the future in writing.
Exactly, and also it keeps the audience happy, because because one of the reasons why I ask this, how you do it, is if one fan sees your show once and then maybe the next time and the next time, and it will always be the same set. It will get, the fan will be like, okay, yeah, yeah, cool, but, I heard this before. So you keep it fresh also for the audience, for yourself, and for the audience. And this is an important thing because, I like Darkwave and electro stuff, but sometimes you have bands there who just do click, and then, pretend to play something, and then you have just the vocalist to basically do something else, and, play around with it and maybe get off the track a little bit and to make it interesting. But now I get your point. It's interesting for you, and so it's also interesting for the audience, because this is also something, the audience engagement is quite important in my kind of view, because this is why people pay money to see you and come out and stuff. And if you just kind of click and put on the backing track and going through the motions, then it's kind of people would be like, okay, well, he does
Gets
it
old real quick.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also it's not satisfying for you as an artist, because if you love your songs, what I think you do, then it doesn't give them justice to be just like going through the motions and saying the exact words at the exact time, and people will notice, if you don't have energy in you to really perform. So yeah. Anyway, I got your point now.
They need to be humanized. Like there's this element of live shows where you want to hear mistakes. You want
exactly,
to hear
and you need
glitches.
yourself to be on the edge. That there is the possibility to screw up. That's exactly the point. This is the fun and the danger or whatever. But yeah,
brings the real element to live music. Is like if something goes wrong, or if I stuff something up in a set, I don't beat myself up about it too hard. I'm like, I kind of have to remind myself, like, oh, like this is what makes like it real. Like
exactly.
You can't be perfect. You can't be perfect the whole time, because at the end of the day, you're using an electronic device that plays the note almost perfectly. Like, although the keys are all weighted and there's like slight differences to what weight you put on, but like it's dark. I have fat fingers. There's strobe lights going. Like there's times where you'll get a bung note and you'll miss a key and get a bung note, and it's like it's a real part of the set.
No, but it keeps you on the edge, and it keeps it fresh, because this is the worst thing what I can think of, that you just go through the motions and kind of like I don't know how to say it. It's just like a choreographed performance, where you know exactly when what is, and in a way it is, but it's not because you keep it for anyway. I got your point now, and I think this definitely can work. As we approaching the hour mark, I want to kind of get into some other things as well.
Sure.
Just some fun questions I always like to ask, and we kind of
Cool.
got to there in already. So you were in the lucky position to have done a lot of touring already. So can you think of any fun stuff? What happens while you were on the road? Some mishaps, some stage problems, issues, things. I mean, just the funny ones. Don't tell us, the bad stuff, or maybe only if it's funny.
I'm like, because I'm always on my own, I'm usually pretty strict to myself. Like, I've even done like a lot of tours where like I'll be like, okay, well, I'm going on tour for 2 weeks. I'm not going to drink this whole tour, and I'll just try and do like small little challenges like that. And then I was on tour with it was when I was touring with my friend Louis, who runs Third Coming Records. And so we both were like, okay, let's have no drinks, and we got addicted to Club Mate. So we're drinking a
Oh,
lot of
yeah,
Club
yeah. This
Mate.
is here in Germany. I mean, here in Germany, it's very, very big. I work in the
Yeah,
IT business, and it's kind of the standard drink for IT nerds.
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, so like there was a time where we did that, and we're literally would do the show, do merch, sit at merch, drink Club Mate, and then everyone's like going out to party, and we were like, yeah, we're just gonna go home and like probably watch some TV and pass out, and then go to the next place the next day. Although that sounds like boring, but like over time, you do appreciate taking it easy sometimes, because it can pay a massive toll on your body and your mind, especially when you're doing excessive amounts of shows back to back. But then again, like I've had some fun times as well, like also like having like drunk shows, like ones that I've done in the past with like Zanias and Deselection. But yeah, touring kind of like almost turns out into the same, but just with different friends. And like I always make sure that I'm with like people who I really enjoy being around with when I'm touring as well, like, which is just makes it better. And
Yeah.
it gets hard sometimes being on your own, because it does get a bit lonely. But my favorite thing is probably the different, like no matter where you are in Europe, there's always like a different array of food
Oh,
or
yeah.
drink.
That's for
I
sure. Yeah.
love I love wine. I'm really big on wine, so I love trying all the different wines, all the different, like if there's any like kind of alcohol that is specialized in that country or province, I'll like also want to try that. So if anyone asks me like what the first thing I want to do is there, or if there's anything I want to try, I'm like, what's your drink specialty? What's your food specialty? And that would be my number one go to
Okay.
for a new city or a
No, and
new
this is
country.
the cool part, to discover all these things, and this. I mean, Australia is a massive country continent thing,
Mm.
so I think you have also a lot of different influences, of course, but yeah, in Europe it's kind of for you being used to this big dimensions of Australia, everything is a
Yeah,
stone throw away. Like you have Luxembourg and Denmark, and all the for you it's like nothing to go there.
yeah.
In
Well,
in
it's here's only such a very young country, so there's not much history or culture embedded in Australia. There is, but only very very small amounts. But then you go there, and it's huge. Like there's a lot to go through. So yeah, like when people come here, I feel kind of guilty, because I'm like, oh, there's not really much worth showing, other than what you see. But yeah, when I
yeah,
go
like
there, I feel like
historic
I
sites or
learn a lot.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Okay, you know what I think is funny? You said you drink Club Mate and then go home and watch TV and then pass out because Club Mate has a lot of caffeine. So I mean, so you have a very high tolerance already if you can pass out on Club Mate.
Yeah, we both did. Like, I think even just after playing a show, I was like usually that wrecked after
Hmm.
playing a show because I think it was no, it was during winter, but during winter I still managed to like sweat out liters and liters of water when I'm performing over in Europe because there's never any fans or anything going anyway. But yeah, I think even after any shows, I'm usually that buggered that I can easily go home and sleep on anything regardless. I'm usually pretty zombified.
Okay, okay. Okay, I try. Me personally, I try a different approach. If I really love coffee, I like to drink coffee. Of course, lots of caffeine and stuff. But I kind of limit myself to 2 coffees per day, and not more. So because I like to have this buzz, I like to have this, the adrenaline rush or the caffeine rush
The
thing.
caffeine hit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and if you have too much of it, like if you drink a lot of Club Mate, you don't feel this anymore. You have you shift your baseline basically. So
Yeah. Your tolerance becomes, yeah, very altered. But yeah, I love coffee just as much as well. Like it's my ritual first thing in the morning is like I'll always I wake up really early as well. Like my body clock is still set to touring, and so I'm used to waking up at like 5 6 a.m. So I'll wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. and the first thing I'll do is go make a coffee or go find someone that makes coffee.
yeah, I just what I figured out now for me is because I'm more I don't know if you have heard this the ketogenic diet. I try to eat not too much carbs.
Oh, is that keto?
Keto,
Keto
yeah,
diet? Yeah.
keto diet. So you know it, yeah, ketogenic, you would say in English.
Yeah.
And but I like chocolate, and of course I cannot eat chocolate, the normal chocolate. What I
Yeah.
do now is I roast chocolate beans myself and grind them in and put them in. I have a French press coffee maker, and put in coffee
No
and
way.
and ground cocoa beans. How you say
Cacao beans.
cacao beans, and
Yeah.
uh, and then man, this is molto bene, magnifique. This is,
Yeah, I've never
oh
heard of
man.
anyone doing this before. This sounds like very complex, but I'm
Well,
so intrigued.
it's not that complex. I mean, just get a French press coffee maker, of course, and then grind your get coffee, how you say it, cacao beans,
Cacao?
cacao beans,
Yeah.
exactly, and roast them or get them roasted already, and then grind them, put them in, and with the coffee you want, the amount of coffee, and then just let it simmer a little bit, stir it, and then press it, and you have it. It's oh
So when you
man.
put it in with the French press, is it with water?
Yeah, of course, with hot boiling water you put in there, and I my problem now is that if whenever I go somewhere else and have a coffee, it's like it doesn't taste anymore for me because I have my own way of doing things. So I mean, at the moment everything is locked down, but once shows will also emerge for us here in Europe, I will have my thermos, how you say, my thermos flask, and have my
Yeah.
own coffee with me because the other one doesn't taste as well as mine. So
Yeah, you spoil yourself.
yeah,
So
but
anything external is offensive.
yeah, and I started this just okay. Sorry, I'm talking about myself, but anyway, I give you a good hint to what you could try. Because I was checking a podcast where a guy was talking about what kind of things are good for your health and you should have a lot of, and I guess you heard of before in chocolate there is a lot of good flavorin, or some good stuff that is good for your heart and whatever. And I was like, oh, I like chocolate, but I cannot eat it with a ketogenic diet. So let's go to the source. What makes chocolate good? It's the cacao. And so I got to it directly, and now I really enjoy it. And it has also a little trace amount of caffeine. It's in the cacao beans, So you get a kind of like a double, but it's a different. I have only read some Wikipedia stuff, so I'm not an expert here, but it apparently the cacao caffeine works a little bit slower than the coffee beans caffeine. The coffee beans caffeine is quite quick and fast, and the cacao is more relaxed and more slowly building or whatever. It trickles more slowly in the bloodstream. Anyway, but I can recommend it. Try it out. It's fun.
I'll definitely
it's fun.
try it. I'm intrigued.
Because like you said, I have also my morning ritual is kind of grinding the beans and listening to the radio and catching up with the news and stuff, and then getting I like to start my day also very slow. I wake up by myself. I don't have a clock, an alarm clock. I usually wake up around 4 o'clock here. And then I have time to do my things, and then my family wakes up, and then I have breakfast with them, and I really like the downtime, the alone time.
No, it's like the best time in the morning because no one else is around.
Exactly.
You don't want to wake up to intense surroundings. You want to wake up to a nice, calm environment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have one last questions before. Because now it's here 7:20, and my family is waking up, and I'm soon going to have breakfast with them. Because you were touring so much already, was there any moment, and this is just a fun question, where you have been starstruck, where you shared the stage with people where you really like, oh man, I'm a fanboy, or something like that?
I'm just trying to think if there's been ever any moments. I haven't really played like many bills where there's like been I guess bigger bands. I think the one cool experience was maybe with Trisomie 21.
Oh, cool! You have played with them, the French band.
Yeah. So that was kind of like I've always been a very big fan of them, and it's kind of strange because like they're quite a large band, but not many people, especially even in the like in the goth scene and stuff like that here, really know of them. Like they're kind of like
they're very niche. I know. They have only one big song. The last song, and then, but they have been around for quite a while. They're actually not a small band, but outside of France, I don't think so many people know them, or just know one song, like the last song.
The last song, which is quite ironic because I think they play that last in their set. I played with them in Ashcode in Sweden, so that was interesting. And I hadn't met Ashcode before, so like meeting both those bands at the same time was the guys from Ashcode are really sweet, very quiet and very reserved, but once you get to know them, they like really warmed up to me. And then same with the guys from Trisomie 21. Like I think I was having a bit to drink that night, so I was being not annoying, but I think I was just trying to break everyone in a bit verbally. But that was kind of cool. It was nice to see. Like I think it's like all the original members of Trisomie 21, because it's one rare thing that you see is like a lot of those bands from the 80s never have all original members. So it was really cool to see them all have all the original members from their first beginnings. Yeah,
that's true. It's I mean, this is maybe one of the reasons why you are a solo artist, because it's not very, it's very, if you find people you really click with, it's very rare, or click with,
Yeah.
and you evolve, and when also the people evolve, it's rare that people stay together and have the same vision or the same drive. Also, this is also important, that you have a and also, like you said, um, that you are wanting to spend a lot of amount of time with them, because sometimes your bandmates you see more than your family, and you are more how you say, compressed time, or when you're in a bus traveling somewhere, and if you have annoying people, this is not easy.
Yeah, it's like a relationship. You have
Yeah.
to have a very tight knit connection.
It's almost worse than a relation. I mean, not worse, but yeah, it's a very tight relationship. You have to
Yeah.
spend a lot of time with them. So yeah, choose carefully. Um, okay, so maybe to wrap this all up. So you're working on two new albums at the moment. You want to finish
Yep.
your Pascal with Last in the Club thing. And the other one was Decentry, or what was it?
Oh,
D
DSMV.
DSNV.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. So two albums is what is in the works at the moment. One's like the DSMV album is almost done. I think we're just tying up some bits now, and then it will go off to be mixed and all that stuff. But yeah, then the Buzzcocks one isn't too far behind either.
okay, so you cannot give us a timeline yet when to kind of expect something.
No, not yet. But like, I think I might even like do drop another track for Buzzcocks like a few months before the album comes out, just to kind of like give give a
Steer up
warning
some
shot.
interesting,
Yeah.
steer up some interest, and
Yeah,
so
just to
it's-
make sure I'm on the right track anyway.
okay, yeah, you also seem to do quite well in online, because I checked you on Spotify. I usually check on Spotify, and you seem to do quite well. So do you have a label, right? And you have some people who help you with the promotion.
Yeah, I'm with the Italian label Avant, who yeah, Andrea from Avant's always been really great. He really looks after me, because it's kind of good having a European label for somewhere where I tour more than anywhere else. But yeah, weirdly Spotify was good to me this year that's just passed. Like it was a very good year, but I just wish Spotify paid more. Otherwise,
Yeah.
financially I'd be okay, and I probably wouldn't have to work anymore. Well, I'd still be working, but like I wouldn't feel so stressed about living on that student income situation. But yeah, no, for streams, this year was very good. I don't know how, because I didn't release anything, but I guess it's just like the general motion of word of mouth, and then everything relating to everything else, and stuff like that in the world of internet relations between other artists.
Cool. No, it seems to work out quite well for you. I'm always happy if if I see people who make the music I love to do quite well, because as you know, I talk with a lot of artists, and most are really struggling. But you seem to be in a good spot, I mean, you still have to work, but that's fine, I mean,
It's life. I'm
exactly,
happy to
life,
as well.
life,
Like
life
it's
is
a
work.
good mental thing.
Exactly, and also it helps you, like we talked about it before. If you have to solve different problems, it kind of gets your mind out of your little box, and you find new things, and what you're doing, the video and film work you do certainly will help you also with Pascal. I mean,
Totally.
this is not wasted time. It's not like you're, I don't know, you sweeping. Oh,
It's just different life experiences and different
exactly.
human interaction.
And
is
you
always
and you
different. Yeah.
exactly, and you find also other people, and when anyway, that's one of the reasons why I started this, because I want to get to know people, and as we are in shutdown right now here in Germany, this is actually my my way a little bit to socialize and to get different ideas and different viewpoints and stuff. Because I found it very interesting today how you deal with your life challenge, playing live, that you don't keep it stale for yourself and for your audience. And this is actually a really cool approach. I really hope, once all this is over, that I can see you live, because you're often in Europe,
Absolutely.
so you might be in Germany as well. So
Yeah, that's like my second home.
okay, cool. So yeah, thank you very much for your time today. It was really nice to get to know you and to see a little bit behind the scenes, how things happen with Pascal. I wish you all the best. Whenever you have a new track out, if you don't forget, I'm a little DJ and also I have a little playlist on Spotify. So please send it to me. I'm happy to
Ciao.
do my little promotion thing I can do. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Don't swim with the sharks too much.
Thank you,
And
Tobias. I appreciate it.
yeah, thank you. And yeah, this is kind of where my wife is from. So I'm keep Australia well. Yeah, I know Melbourne is under big lockdown at the moment. I talk with my parents-in-law sometimes, and
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, keep your positive attitude. I want to end on a good note, and you have a really positive vibe, so keep that, and we shall go together through this, and maybe next year you'll be on tour back in Europe, and then please hit me up, and then
I
maybe
shall.
I can shout in and see how you do it, how you do it live, and
Absolutely.
cool. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
No worries.
I'm off to breakfast now, and you have dinner soon, I guess, or lunch.
Yeah, pending. I might
Yeah.
go for a fish first, then dinner.
I see. Okay, enjoy.
Thanks, Tobias. Take care.
Yeah. Bye bye.